Good evening, ladies and gentlemen. Welcome to this special council meeting, the town of Oakville. Madam Clerk, do we have any regrets?
There are no regrets. Councillor Knoll may be running late.
I see. So there's most of us here anyway. Council, do you have any declarations of pecuniary interest? Thank you. Council, this evening we have one discussion item, and that is a presentation on the new Oakville Hospital. And at this time, I'd like to call your attention to and welcome the chair of the board of the Oakville Trafalgar Memorial Hospital and Halton Healthcare Services, John Fleming. Good evening.
Good evening. Thank you very much, Your Worship. It's wonderful to be back before you again and to have the opportunity to bring you up to date on the new Oakville Hospital. I can only say, Your Worship and councillors and staff, that I hope our presentation will be a little less challenging than the last couple of times that we were here. You know, Your Worship, on that particular vein, I was reflecting on the 20-odd years that I worked in municipal government, and I have to say I always took pride in the ability that municipal councils and municipal staffs had to innovate and lead in difficult and challenging times. And the last time we were here, we were certainly seeking to partner with the town of Oakville on something that was very much a leadership and a difficult challenge in this community, and one where after a lot of conversation, I think we found a really effective, innovative solution. We're here absolutely tonight to say again, first and foremost, thank you to the town of Oakville for being our partner in the new Oakville Hospital. We're very excited about showing you and telling you where we're at with that particular project. Last time that I was here, Your Worship, I was a member of the board, as you mentioned earlier. Now I'm the chair of the board, and it's a real pleasure for me to be here along with other board members and staff to bring you up to date. Halton Healthcare Services, and in particular here at Oakville Trafalgar Memorial Hospital, has benefited from the efforts of many people, both professional healthcare staff, administrative staff, and certainly a huge cadre of volunteers in delivering excellent healthcare service in this community. But we all know what the challenges of that have been. So it's particularly exciting for us now as we're able to look forward, staff, patients, and community, to seeing our shared vision for enhanced patient-focused care coming to fruition over the next 4 years in the new Oakville Hospital as the new buildings rise from the ground at Third Line and Dundas. I know many of you had an opportunity to attend the official groundbreaking last week. Regrettably, I did not, and as I think I mentioned to you, Your Worship, I had a previous commitment. Some of you may know that I also sit on one of the two boards of OMERS, so it may be of some modest relief to you to know that I missed an important event as the chair of the Halton Healthcare Services Board in order to attend to and look after your pension interests at OMERS. So hopefully you will forgive me for not being part of the groundbreaking, and I understand a number of you were able to be there. For those who were not, you're going to have an opportunity now as John Oliver and Bill Bailey make the presentation that you're about to see. So without further ado, Your Worship, I'm going to turn things over to John. We have a lot to tell you about this project. I would just like, before I sit down, to again say thank you to the members of council and to the hard work of the staff, Ray Green and Gordon and others, for the partnership that we have as we move forward on this. The town of Oakville is our single biggest donor to this project. It's a huge commitment that you made to us, and we're very, very appreciative of that. Thank you.
Thank you very much, Mr. Fleming, and welcome, Mr. Oliver. Council looks forward to your information and your presentation.
Thank you very much. I just wanted to begin by continuing on where my chair left off, and also this hospital, more and more, it's becoming very apparent this is a community effort. It's a collaboration of so many different people, from the foundation and the capital campaign and the major donors that are there to the support we've had from council. Just the extent and engagement of people in the community on this hospital is really becoming, on the new hospital, is becoming quite quite something. And I think the lead-off gift from council or support that you've given has been absolutely instrumental in showing that leadership to the community in supporting it. And I know I've seen many of you out to our events, from the early site work presentation that we did to the groundbreaking that we had. It's absolutely wonderful to see the council members there, because it speaks volumes, I think, to the staff and to other members of the community to know that there is that shared effort and shared interest in this project with council, with Halton Healthcare, and with other members of the community. So thank you, and thank you very much, Your Worship, for your time and being part of those addresses and celebrations. And as John did, I also wanted to recognize, Ray Green has been providing tremendous counsel to me as we sort of work through and understand the planning processes. And as you know, Gord Lalonde has been on our Capital Planning Advisory Committee, was very much involved with the financing in the end and the work that we did. So I really did want to thank you for his time, and thank Gord directly for his contributions to it. And also, there's been all kinds of meetings going on with the planning department and Jane Closey, so we did also want to recognize that. It's not just about the financial support, it's about the support we have from council and from staff in making this site really come to life and begin to work as the construction begins. And that's taking on a lot of ongoing collaboration and work with you. So thank you for all of that that you've been doing. So the intent of tonight's presentation is really just to bring you up to date, show you some images of where we are, and complete the story with you from where we last left off. A number of the new councillors, I also want to thank you for taking the time to come in and meet with me. We took you through the historic documents of how we got to where we are. So I think all of this now is going forward from where we last left off. And with your permission, joining me will be Bill Bailey. Bill is the Vice President for Redevelopment. He's really the project works person. He has a history with the Ministry of Health and Long-Term Care and public sector work, but has been absolutely just taken to this project and has been doing a superb job. So between the two of us, we're going to try to cover a bit of education for you on what this looks like. And the biggest change really since the last time we were before you is we now know who the preferred proponent is. We've made that announcement. We have commercial close. So the images that we're going to be showing you tonight are images from the bid document. So the consortia, HIP, has committed to building a building that looks very much like this, if not just like this. So if you recall, the last time I began by saying the images I'm showing you are sort of exemplar images and it's not going to look like this. At the end, it better look pretty close to this, because this is what we're buying. So that's where we're at with it. So just to begin, so just to remind you again of the vision that was established for this project that was set by the board well back in time. So obviously we have to be a hospital. First and foremost, we have to provide care, we have to do diagnostic work, we have to do therapeutic work, so we have to be a hospital, and the building has to deliver and perform in all the functions of a hospital. But what was quite different in this vision statement is that we are creating this with and for the community. It's been very, very important to us that we make sure this hospital meets the needs and expectations of Oakville residents, not just as a hospital, but as a landmark building and as a care environment that meets their needs beyond what the doctors and nurses provide. And secondly, it's an environment that supports the physical, mental, emotional, and spiritual needs of the community, of the patients, of family, and all that are in it. And that's quite unique as well. Our current built environment is very, very cold. It's sort of the 1950s concept of what a hospital should be. So it's very cold, very sterile. It's efficient, but it's a tough place to be a patient in. It's a tough place to visit a patient in. And for staff working 7 days a week, 24 hours a day, it's a pretty sterile environment for them. So how do we change that, and how do we create an environment that's more patient-centered and helps with that healing that has to happen in the hospital? So that was the vision from the Voice of Oakville, and I think I shared this with you back a bit, so I'm going a little bit back. So this came from focus groups that we convened, got a lot of direct feedback from individuals in the community. We've tested these again and again with the community. So patient-family focus. The Oakville wants this hospital to be about the patients coming in, about the families that are accompanying them. They want a positive work environment, which is very positive, and to hear the community talking about making sure the needs of staff are met as well as their own. Green design was important. They want to feel welcomed when they come to the doors. They don't want to feel like they're an afterthought. They want to be welcomed in the building. They want technology softened. Privacy is huge. I won't say any more about this because we spent a lot of time talking about single patient rooms and the importance of privacy, but that's a very big driver for Oakville residents. Connection to nature, that's the way the town's been designed, the way it's been thought through. Everybody has that moment when they can quickly get out and experience the greenness and the environment that's around us. How do we make that happen in a 1,600,000 square foot hospital? And then flexibility for the future. Well, let's make sure we use the 50 acres well, that we're good land stewards, and as we go forward, we don't lose the site as a hospital site. So some of that vision, some of that voice of Oakville is about how we deliver care. It's about the culture of the building. We worked very hard in the bid documents to make sure that the design objectives captured that. So these are the design objectives that HIP have absolutely committed to. So first of all, it's going to provide an identity to the Oakville community. It's going to be welcoming, but this should be a landmark building for the community. Everyone will know where this building is. They should take pride in this building. It should be, as I said, a landmark for people that are coming through Oakville. It should stand out as a destination point, and when people arrive at it, they should feel they've arrived at a place that makes them feel special. When they come into that, you don't want to feel as an afterthought. You want to feel special as you're in it. So a stress-reducing environment, a comfortable and welcome place for healing. It should be accessible and senior-friendly. Our current hospital is built with an image of a healthy, mobile 40-year-old. That's the sort of design that we have and how it's laid out. How do you build a hospital for a frailer, a slower-moving 85-year-old, which is more typical of our patient age and state? Humanize the technology, have an aesthetic vision for the future, so not just thoughtful use of land, but well-designed use of land so that it continues to be a focal point and an identity for Oakville. And then creating spaces, bringing both nature in, so how do you have that connection with nature inside, and how do you easily access the outside? And those were the design objectives. This is the timeline we've been on. So from the announcement in 2005 that this hospital would proceed through the land acquisition, we've now moved all the way through and are about where this arrow, the red arrow appears. So we achieved financial and commercial close in July 2011. A major transaction. We were at about 30% design completion at financial commercial close. We're working very diligently right now with the architects to get to 100% design development, which we expect to have by December. And then construction on foundation will have started before that, but that's really the close off of design when it's in its full bore construction after that. Our planned substantial completion date, so the day when the hospital is virtually built and we are now in it and occupying the space, is July 2015. And if you are looking for a date to hold us to for when we begin to deliver patient care, our target is December the 3rd, 2015. It may be December the 4th, but we're driving the organization, we're driving everybody to that firm date. That's the date we want to be providing care in the new hospital. And just a reminder of some of the programs that are in here. This slide I believe you've all seen before, but we will be housing the MRI for the region. We may be looking at a unit now up in Milton. I should mention, when we last did this presentation, we were still struggling to do something with the Milton Hospital, and it's been very difficult to celebrate the progress and the milestones with the new Oakville Hospital, knowing that we're not able to deliver similar capacity and quality of environment for the Milton residents. And we did, over this summer, receive an announcement for a 300,000 square foot addition to the Milton Hospital. So we really will be delivering and being able to create a hospital environment for the residents of Milton, just like Oakville. Joseph Brandt had their project announced, and we have a small project up in Georgetown. So lots and lots of hospital development in Halton, lots of it around us, which again makes this Oakville's hospital. It brings it all back to being this is a hospital for Oakville. So dialysis, inpatient rehab, The mental health, both inpatient and outpatient for adult and child and adolescent will be here, orthopedics, and a brand new cancer center. And I think I've showed you this slide several times in terms of the increased capacities that we'll be creating with this project, with the increase in the incidence of diabetes, the need for more education and training, with quite significant consequences for people if we aren't successful at that, and through to really increase capacity in all areas, moving to at least 5 modalities of MR, CT, and we're still looking at the arrangements for that. And then quite a significant staffing. Within 3 years of opening, we'll have added about 1,000 full-time, part-time staff to the hospital. So, Bill, do you want to say a few words?
Yeah, sure. As John has indicated earlier, this hospital is being procured under a new procurement model under the auspices of Infrastructure Ontario. Together with our co-sponsors at the province, we were able to select a preferred proponent and reach commercial close in July and financial close end of July, July 29th. And you'll note that at that time, construction started almost immediately, and we'll see activity on the site in an intensified way over the next several months. But I wanted to mention who our partners are, and of course our developer is Carillion Canada with Ellis Don Corporation and Fengate Capital, and design is Parkin Architects in joint venture with Adamson Associates. Construction and facilities management, Carillion Canada and Ellis Don, and financial advisors are Fengate Capital in partnership with Scotia Capital. And since the time of that announcement, we've been working around the clock with our partners behind the scenes, developing the 100% design development documents for the project. When bidders submit their documents, they can't be 100% compliant with our requirements, and we've been working through those to bring them to 100% compliant for our needs. Again, under this model, it's a design, build, finance, and maintain model with a 30-year stream of payments and a 30-year life cycle and facilities maintenance aspect to the deal. That's a huge win for the town in that the building will be kept in an as-built condition for that 30-year life cycle. So when the roof needs to be repaired, or the elevators need to be repaired, or there's issues with finishes of the building, those will be maintained by our sponsors, by our consortia, as we move through that concession period. And as you can see, of course, the value of the deal is $2 billion, with the equivalent of approximately $2.7 billion if you look at it over the 30-year time value of money.
And I think we mentioned this earlier before in our presentations before council, but included in this is a 30-year maintenance program. So for the next 30 years, the hospital should appear as it appears on opening day. And as I think I've expressed this, as a hospital CEO, and you know the state that OTMH can get into, this is a 24-hour, 7-day-a-week operation. It experiences very, very heavy use with lots of big pieces of equipment and beds and stretchers moving around. Maintenance is really tough in these kinds of environments, and there is no really direct funding for that to repair, maintain, upgrade, and keep the facility fresh. So we're always scrambling and looking for money and asking for funds to maintain the hospital environment. So for this hospital, for 30 years, the funding is in place, and there's guaranteed maintenance obligations with HIP. So the benefits for the community, absolutely a family-centered patient care, all great gains across all service areas in terms of physical space for additional capacity. And as you know, we're going from an environment where 80% of our beds are in 4-bed wards to an environment where 80% of our beds are in single patient rooms. So a huge win. That whole patient privacy piece is an enormous win. The Emerge department, which is the other quite significant place where privacy is lost. Today, when you come into the Emerge, the curtains are open, or you may have the drapes pulled. So that's not great privacy. There's not a lot of great sound control in that, and there's increased risk of infection. Although we wash and clean and sterilize those curtains all the time, there's an increased risk of infection with them. In this ED, as designed, we're moving to glass doors that have you can flip a switch and the glass becomes opaque and sort of smoky. You can't see through it, but if you need to observe, you can flip a switch and the glass becomes clear again. So there's privacy gained in the inpatient area, great privacy, great improvement in space in the emergency department as well, which is another area where people have been concerned about. The teaching agreement with McMaster University, we have now officially entered into an affiliation agreement with McMaster. They are incredibly excited about this opportunity. We have space to train physicians in it. The most likely way we'll be recruiting doctors in the future is through these kind of training opportunities, although the hospital will be a draw. We will be bringing people through it. So that's in place, and I'll come back a little bit later to that and some opportunities around the site for potential McMaster teaching facility investment. The new services, I've mentioned the cancer clinic, retaining and recruiting medical staff, nursing staff. We're already getting calls from people wondering when the recruitment will start, how do they apply to be a nurse, how do they apply to be an ultrasound tech. So across the band of jobs that we have, already great interest in the hospital. And I think we've touched on these other points. And then we are building green, so this was a big issue for Oakville residents. They want to make sure that we are a green environment. So HIP has committed, as required in the bid documents, to produce at least a LEED Silver designation. So LEED, again, is Leadership in Energy and Development Design. Some quick examples of things that they've already begun to factor in. So efficient water fixtures, energy efficient building, mechanical systems. 75% of the construction waste will be diverted away from landfill into other purposes. Landscaping that uses drought-resistant planting and using the stormwater collection for irrigation. Lots and lots of other. I mean, the specifics on the LEED Silver are phenomenal, the detail that you go in to produce sort of verifiable proof of the work you've done on it. And then this is the site plan, so just to quickly orient, I'm going to use the mouse here. So Dundas Street, third line already, you can begin to see third line taking shape as it goes north. Burnham Thorpe will eventually come across the top of the property, and then we have the future Western Road. So for the public coming in, we are still working with an emerge entrance. People will come in off that new Western Road. This has changed a bit. We've moved the heliport up a little higher into about here so that we have less of a right angle turn, and we're bringing the public down and in here for drop off. And the emerge, the ambulance vehicles will be coming through and in here for drop off. So lots of very easy wayfinding, lots of signage will be very easy to direct people on how to get through that emerge entrance. Otherwise, it's a very simple grid. There's the traffic is designed to come in on this sort of east-west pattern. So if you come in from the west side, as you drive in, you are looking right at the main entranceway to the main lobby, and your wayfinding is immediately simplified because you know exactly where you're headed to. If you're coming in from the east side, once again, this road coming in points you directly at the main entrance for the east side, so your wayfinding as you come into park is simplified. And inside the building, the public corridor is really a north-south orientation this way. So it's a very simple cross formation with road transportation east-west and one big corridor that runs north-south. And if you come in this way, there's numerous drop-off points for diagnostic imaging, for maternal child, for the main lobby, another entrance here for complex care and rehab, dialysis, the cancer program, into the parking structure. And the parking structure has multiple level access points, so you can stay sheltered and dry and access the main building on both the first, the first and the second, and a basement level. As asked of by the town planning, there's a beautiful civic plaza that's planned for this corner. We're quite excited about the ways we'll be able to use that and the kinds of things we can host on it. And I'll wake this mouse up here. There it is. Lots of plantings to really create a nice boulevard feel for people. Burns and whatnot in here to sort of mask some of the building at the lower level. Plantings again up through the west side. Lots of berms in the parking lot with plantings to keep that green. And then a trail system around the building. So lots of nature points, lots of access points to get out of it. And we think a lovely urban edge that where you're going to see again, a destination hospital rising in the middle of it, but carefully screened and carefully well planted to ease the urban edge of that environment.
Yeah. The only thing I'd add is that these buildings are oriented along the eastern edge of the campus to give that capacity for growth in the future. We've heard very strongly from the community of Oakville that if we're moving once, we don't want to move into the future, so how can we protect against that? Lots of room for expansion, plus each one of these blocks, you can see they're labeled A, B, C, and D, will have a unique look and a unique address to it. Because a facility of this size and scope, it can be intimidating to find your way around, but with the multiple drop-off points and multiple address points, you can get drop-off close to your destination if you choose to do that, and get right into your appointment or right into the areas closest to your business at the hospital.
So just turning that now into a three-dimensional image, you can see the main building massings on here. So the underneath the inpatient tower, and I'll show you, we'll go inside the building shortly, but this, the bottom floors here is all sort of public amenity space with the inpatient tower rising up above it. In behind the inpatient tower is the eMERGE unit, above and beside the eMERGE diagnostic imaging, and then above on the second floor are the ORs and recovery areas from the operating rooms. And then the third floor above that is the maternal child. So that a very busy, very active center for both diagnosis and treatment. Then over here, the CCC rehab. So on the ground floors and lower floors of this are our outpatient programs that people will be frequently accessing. So dialysis, the cancer program, people will get used to coming and going from those centers. And then above that are the rehab and complex care floors, which are less busy, much quieter. People are in them for longer periods of time. So a nice separation of the busy, hectic, active parts of the hospital and the quieter structures. So we're calling that a hybrid campus model. A true campus model, you wouldn't have that kind of height. You'd spread out, you'd sort of sprawl across the 50 acres. You'd have lower scale buildings, much like a university perhaps a bit, and you would move outside between buildings for a pure campus model. Lovely use of areas. You get nice sort of building massing, but you have long walking routes. And if we'd gone vertically and had all of that condensed in one big podium with a big 15-story inpatient tower rising above it, we would have left a bit more land open, but we would have had queues around elevators, and we would have had transportation time as well. So this is a nice compromise structure. You can see the parking structure coming up, and you'll see some pictures during the fly-through of how that's been built to really look like it's part of the campus. It's not just a parking structure in your face, it's massed in. And we plan to have a medical office building on the site when we open. So that should be in place both to bring specialists on site, potentially a daycare for staff and some other services in that building.
Yeah, no, I think that you can see some of the unique look of the cladding of the buildings, and we'll get into more of that with the images to come.
Yeah, I don't know if there's some. The architects were very careful. Again, this is tying this back to Oakville, making this feel like an Oakville hospital. So they used some of the images from Hilton Falls, the sort of waterfalls, and they've worked with the glazing on the building to give that sense of the vertical falls and vertical drops. The foundational work, if you, and you may see this in some of the slides down in through here, is designed, it's patterned concrete designed to look like the escarpment. So you get that sort of escarpment feel to it. So the public spaces, lots of green space, lots of walking area, places for people to be to gather outside. Oops, wrong button. And then coming in, so this is the main lobby. So this bigger image here is looking from the east through to the west. So as you're driving, as I mentioned, as you're driving in from the west side, you'll see this entranceway. If you're coming in from the east, you'll see an entranceway, and this is what you walk into. They've used a concept of a creek, so 16-mile creek. So if you notice the pattern in the flooring, they've tried to give that sense of fluid movement through here. So a very nice hearth feature over in this wall. Again, that sort of limestone escarpment finishing with some natural wood finishes. 2 stories high, lots of daylight coming in. And up here is a 3rd-story public place for walking with light coming in. So the whole thing's very transparent, lots of openness, lots of light. If you contrast this lobby to our current lobby, this is a welcoming, quiet lobby where you can come in and be reflective. When you walk into our lobby today, it's like walking into a subway station. You've got retail happening, you've got signs posted. If I see one more eye clinic this way with arrows, I'm going to tear my hair out. And people there's just so much going on in that lobby with people coming and going. So if you are feeling nauseous, if you're sick or stressed, and you just want to feel you've arrived at a place that's going to take care of you, you don't necessarily get that feeling when you first come into the current OTMH. When you walk in here, it's going to be a very restive environment. And very easy, the volunteer desk, visible from both entrances as you come in. And then we'll also have places for legacy. We'll have legacy wall. At some point, we'll decommission the old hospital and commission this building. So I think the artifacts we bring up will be here. Some of the donor recognition of donors from the old OTMH site will be brought up here.
The notion is, in addition to the daylight, that'll be the most striking thing that you'll notice when you walk into the hospital is the calming visual distractions, things that will attract your eye, give you something to think about other than perhaps what's happening at the hospital.
So this is the first floor circulation. So just to give you an idea then of how simple it is. So there's that main lobby. So the roads are leading you into that lobby on this east-west. And then inside it says north-south corridor that runs all the way from one end of the building to the other. So these are the 3 main elevator banks that people will be heading for. So this elevator bank will bring people up into the complex care rehab inpatient areas. And these 2, the north and south elevator banks, will bring people up into the inpatient units. So you can see this is all, and the next picture shows you a bit more of what's happening on the floor, but very, very simple wayfinding. And again, with the image that's there, it's that idea of, again, of the creek. And what, if you're wondering where to stop to find this elevator bank, that clearly tells you are at a destination to stop and confirm what you're supposed to be doing in that space. So very easy wayfinding strategies to bring people through the building. So this is the main floor blown up again. So this is that one public corridor that comes through here. So first, it is much like Disney does it. This is the front of stage. All of this space through here is going to be pristine public space. It's really geared to make families, to make patients feel welcome and invited into the building, and with lots of services for them, and really limited opportunity to fall back into the main treatment areas. So you'll come back into waiting areas that are immediately adjacent to these public corridors, and then you'll be escorted back into the treatment areas and brought back out. For emerge people coming in, the walk-in is here, there's security, and then a very simple wayfind way to find yourself back up into the main space. Cafeterias in here, there's a big courtyard adjacent to that you'll see. These images here are these sort of glass-lit, or sort of sunlit but glass-divided space. That's the space right in here. So as you're walking through down to the cafeteria, we can use this for small shops, we can use it for public information, we can use it for display posters, but it's bringing lots of light in this. It really is a sun-filled space as you are walking through this. There's 25,000 square feet of retail that there's a huge amount of interest. I get phone calls 2 or 3 times a day now. When can I get in with my business? How do I open a sub shop in here? Is there going to be a McDonald's? There's all those kind of retail questions. So we will be in around 2013. We'll have a professional retail manager, and we will be in by 2014 going through a procurement process for vendors in the space.
Yeah, the one thing that I'd add to John's comments is that it would be very easy to make a straight corridor down through that spine of the building, but this one will have character. It'll have visual distractions along the way. You can see that it meanders down from north to south, and the architects would have you say that's like 16 Mile Creek with the tributaries feeding on each side. But I'd also like to point out the green blocks that you see on each of the main I guess location nodes or destination nodes are public access. And as John has said, back of house, you see the red and the blue squares. Those are the elevators for service and for patient transfer. So unlike in our existing facility where patients are sometimes transferred right through the main busy corridor, privacy and dignity will be upheld with this back-of-house transfer of patients.
And then for those that are looking for there's a very, very beautiful library space being planned that will be open to the public to come in and do health research, staff using that as well. And then our volunteer service, a spiritual center for those that are needing that kind of support while they're in the hospital.
The gray blocks in the center are large interior courtyards that will bring light to the core of the building. When you get a large block of building like that in the scale of this project, that's about 2 football fields long. So it's important that you have those opportunities to bring daylight into the core of the buildings, and those light wells will do that for us.
So that just gives you an idea if the diagnostic block was in behind. So how do you soften technology? So this is very close to what the MR room will look like in the CT rooms with those surface treatments. We have a staff workout center. This is not the staff workout center. That's the therapy pool, and just an example of a treatment area. Second floor. Do you want to say a few words about the floors?
Yeah, on the second floor, at the top is where I would say most of the kidney dialysis treatment are taking place in that green block to the north. And then, of course, the major interaction between the surgical suites in the bottom left-hand corner and a direct access right from the surgical suites to the critical care unit. That's an adjacency that has been highly sought after by our physicians as a key element of this project design, and actually it's one where our bid team was actually able to improve on our illustrative design to get that direct connection. The little orange block that you see in the bottom and the purple one right above the word surgical are the CSR, the elevator that goes right down into the sterilization unit down in the lower levels of the building, and then come right up for direct access into the surgical suites. So I think we're very excited about having the opportunity to have critical care, the lab, surgical suites, and this close adjacency for improved quality of care, but also for opportunity for improved operations.
And you begin to see these gray blocks here. It's programmed space right now for activity, but the space that's in them, those are programs that are very easily moved. It's soft space. So information, communications technology staff, professional staff, we can pick up and move those kind of services quite readily. So that you're beginning to see how our plan for the future expansion happens. Before we can be out to the population of Oakville in about 2020, 2021, before we need to think about external development again. And that's some of the areas that we know there will be likely growth in the near future, that we need to have space to grow the lab, to grow some of the ambulatory procedures and so on. So now we're up onto the third floor. I guess the third floor is where the medical surgical inpatient rooms begin. So this is a pretty good prototype of the inpatient room. You can see the family space back over here against the windows. These will be pull-out, extendable couches, so you can spend the night and sleep with them if you want. Storage space in here. Patient space now with a flat screen TV at the foot of the bed. We're not sure whether there'll be an on or above the bed device of some kind to bring additional control to the patients. I think we're going to push for it. But the concern is infection control, and can we have touch screens that people can use to dim lights or order food, or use it as a radio, or use it as a Wi-Fi system. Can you do that and still have proper infection control? Different types of treatment. You'll see different images of what the headboard wood grain-like material right here will look like. Each room comes with a patient lift, which is very important for our workplace health and safety. Sinks are very visible. Hand washing is such an important thing right now for everybody. No matter where you are, hand washing is critical. Hand washing is absolutely vital in hospitals as staff come and go between rooms. So in addition to the sort of antiseptic hand stations, we've put a sink in each room, so as a staff member comes in, they're right in front of the patient, they wash their hands, the patient sees they've washed their hands, and then they turn around and begin to work with patients.
Yeah. You can note on the head wall the concealment of some of the glove containers on the left-hand side, and the fact that we've got a docking garage for the lift, so we're trying to focus with detail the deinstitutionalizing of the space. So technology is tucked away if it can be, or sharps containers, glove containers, those sorts of things are out of the direct eye line of the patient.
And that just gives you, I think, just going up the maternal child program and the first med-surg unit, you can see here again we can quickly add additional inpatient beds above on that unit.
The only thing I'd add to that is that in the new model, it's a decentralized nursing model. So each of those letter T-shaped parts of the building is a 36-bed unit organized around 3 12-bed pods. And the nurses will have access to charting alcoves right outside of each room. So there's an opportunity for the patient to be closer to their care and for the care to be closer to the patient.
And then here, you'll see this exterior courtyard. So that's that third floor courtyard. So for residents that are in complex care and rehab, they'll be able to exit out here onto the third floor. There's a bridge over here. They look down into the lobby that's situated down here, and then a nice walking track around here for them. So easy access to nature off the third floor for those people. And again, you can see the Sheldon space and capacity for the growth. There's an example of a maternal child room. So in addition to the family space, there's baby care equipment. And as Bill's mentioned, how well the technology is masked behind those headboards. The colors are going to change here. We aren't down to final design yet for color. So I think we're going to be looking again for even warmer, richer kind of hues. It isn't expensive to do. It's simply just changing the finishing appearances of it.
Yeah, and we'll be working with our architects and hopefully going back to some of our focus groups so they can come in and participate in the selection of some of these finishes in the interior of the building.
It really is a great moment to re-engage Oakville, to help think through what are the patterns, what are the textures, what are the finishes you'd like to see that would make this feel like it's your home when you're here in it. And different parts of the world have different views on that. And then just I think more of the same here. Up to the 5th floor. So that'll be the end of the 457 beds that will be opening, and then above that there is additional floor and a half of Sheldon space that we'll be able to grow up to 600 inpatient beds before it's done.
Yeah, it'll be 10 stories in total,
10 stories,
with 1.5 floors of Sheldon space.
And this gives you, again, an idea of some of a different kind of headboard look and how more natural wood can warm a room.
And this is just to illustrate how the project will be actually coming out of the ground. And because of the procurement model and the fact that the consortium that has won this bid manages the construction risk, there'll be at some point in the construction of the hospital 8 cranes swinging. Those little red circles denote where the radius would be for each of the swing arcs for the cranes that will be on the site. So when they get into it and they start building this project, it's going to come up uniformly across the campus rather than in phases. It's going to happen all at once. And yet it still has a 48-month construction schedule.
So the economic impact, obviously with 1,600,000 square feet being built, there will be enormous supply and steel and all of that. At the peak of the construction, Hospital Infrastructure Partners estimate they'll have about 1,100 staff on the site. So as that construction and the construction crews arrive, there'll be lots of spin-offs in that local area for restaurants, hotels, while the construction is going on. You're going to see this building come up very quickly, and the structure will emerge and the cladding will go on it, and you're going to think, wow, it's ready to open, and then there's going to be about another year and a half where it just sits there and you're thinking, what are those guys doing in there? But you can imagine the install of 39,000 pieces of equipment, and I've forgotten how many exact rooms there are. Several.
It's over 4,000.
Yeah, over 4,000 unique rooms that have to be equipped and wired and all that work done on them. Longer term benefits, obviously the maintenance jobs over 30 years, significant increase in employment. As I mentioned, 1,000 full-time, part-time staff being added in the first 3 years as we bring it up to a full model. The medical office building on site will bring additional sort of an economic profile. 25,000 square feet of retail. And I think I've mentioned this before, we estimate somewhere between if you look at the construction cost, the construction funding that's coming from the province of Ontario, the 30-year maintenance, and the new operating dollars that we'll have over 30 years to fund all that new activity, it turns into about a $4 to $5 billion capture of Oakville tax dollars. So if you think about provincial tax dollars leaving the community, there's about $4 to $5 billion that this will capture. So your tax dollars staying in Oakville, providing a needed service, providing care for families, for businesses, and at the same time spinning off into additional wealth creation. And then this is really your, I think, town's thinking around what to do and how to develop the site around, the rest of the site around the hospital with a life sciences and technology park. And I did want to mention this, that in our working with McMaster University in the affiliation agreement, they've already expressed an interest in maybe locating a medical teaching center here for family practice in particular. So there may already be some indication from McMaster of that kind of interest. So I think what we'll do now, we have a tour, so we're just going to put all this together, and you can see, you can sort of have a fly-through through the building. For those of you who are at the groundbreaking ceremony, you've seen this already, but I keep looking at it, and every time I see something new in it. And then that's it, and then we'll be through the presentation. All right, let's try that again.
Can we get the sound?
I know the sound was working earlier. Nope, no sound. Try it again.
Or you can hear a bit in the background.
Very quiet hospital. When the Premier was out for the groundbreaking, he was watching the fly-through and he congratulated us on it, but he said the people look very pale.
Garden to
There we
sit.
go.
A generous public plaza to meet. Landscaped grounds to enjoy. A hospital to call your own. Welcome to your new Oakville Hospital. The new Oakville Hospital is the preeminent healthcare facility in the Halton region. This new state-of-the-art facility will provide the most advanced patient and family-focused care available to the residents of Oakville and the surrounding area. Located at the intersection of Dundas Street and 3rd Line in North Oakville, the new Oakville Hospital is organized using a hybrid campus model, with the hospital program distributed among several building elements. These elements are placed near the eastern edge of the site, which features a welcoming public plaza and garden. Visitor access to the hospital is provided by well-marked formal entrances. The hospital is also served by public transit from 2 bus stop locations. A dedicated emergency access is provided from Dundas Street. Generous hospital expansion space is provided. A centrally located receiving area provides access to the entire hospital, yet remains separate from public view. Parking areas and a parking garage provide a total of 2,100 parking spaces. The western approach to the hospital offers a colorful and inviting entrance. Several unique landscape areas offer a place to rest and connect to nature. Specific traffic calming measures ensure the controlled circulation of vehicles. The approach to the hospital features generous pedestrian zones which extend to the hospital entrances. Entering the main hospital lobby, the visitor is presented with a bright, vibrant, and open space which provides access to all areas of the hospital. The entry provides a warm, inviting environment. The use of wood and natural materials offers a feeling of comfort and shelter. A material palette that is built upon natural and neutral tones reinforces the connection to nature. Patient rooms can be personalized by their residents. The use of warm tones and textures add to the familiarity of the space. The main lobby also provides access to the inpatient tower via the hospital's main street. The main street has drawn inspiration from a creek bed, with the translucency of water rushing over the stones and the rippling patterns of a stream. Architectural elements assist with intuitive wayfinding. Natural day lighting and skylit ceilings offer visual comfort for the patient and staff. Communication stations are designed with clear sightlines for staff, patients, and visitors. Medical technology is minimized to provide a comfortable environment for both mother and child. A play of sunlight on the interior creates visible connections to nature. The cafeteria provides a comfortable place to gather. Its fireplace provides both physical and visual warmth throughout the seasons. The many courtyards of the hospital offer quiet, contemplative spaces for patients, staff, and visitors. A third-floor courtyard provides therapy and relaxation space while maintaining patient privacy. Views and vistas in several directions offer connection between the hospital and its natural setting. Your new Oakville Hospital is the expression of the vision offered by Halton Healthcare Services and the project sponsors. This new facility provides an uncompromising design and offers patients, physicians, staff, and visitors a true state-of-the-art hospital environment that sets a new standard for community healthcare. The new Oakville Hospital, a hospital to call your own.
So that concludes our presentation. I did want to once again say, I want to extend a thank you for taking the time tonight to hear the presentation, to receive the update. We are so excited about this. I mean, the staff in the hospital, the doctors, everybody is incredibly excited about this, about the opportunity that comes with it. We're certainly committed to making this an exemplary building, an exemplary service hospital for the community. And quite frankly, we can't wait to get it built and get into it. So.
Thank you very much for coming, and thank you very much for the report. It's very exciting. You know, I've seen that 2 or 3 times now, and every time I'm overcome by a feeling of just how lucky and fortunate we in Oakville really are to be getting this hospital. I wonder if we could detain you for a moment. Councillor Elgar has a question for you.
Through you, Mr. Mayor, thank you very much, and I do appreciate the presentation. It was very well done, and I'm sure we all really appreciate it. Question regarding, when was the land dedicated for the hospital? I'm trying to I think you mentioned September 2005, you got to go ahead to proceed, but when was it dedicated, the land, the 50 acres?
But the land came over in 2007.
2007, okay. I noticed, I was trying to figure out, the emergency, will be a left in off Dundas if you're coming eastbound?
No, it's, that's only off of Dundas is only ambulances entrance, so the public entrance is up the new westerly road and then right into the hospital property off that west road.
Okay, that's the only thing I was just a little bit concerned about. So if I'm west on Bronte Road, I come east on Dundas, I have to go east to 3rd Line and do a U-turn to try to get into the emergency area?
No, there will be signalized intersections on the western road, and ambulance traffic will be able to turn into the hospital from the west coming east. But for the majority of patients that are coming as walking wounded, if you will, going to the emergency department, would come in through that western entrance in much the same way as we've got a separation between our main entrance off of Reynolds Street and the Allen Street entrance for the emergency traffic. So there'll be a separate entrance for the ambulance traffic as opposed to patients coming by car or on foot.
I wouldn't call it a UE, but you do have to reverse yourself to come. You come up, go past it, go up, and then head back. We can look at I think it's a regional issue, I think, about whether we can bring the general public onto the site. If they're already heading west, can they turn in off of Dundas? And we can look at that again.
And as John has indicated, that's one of the areas where we're doing some design development with our project partners right now. There's a desire to separate traffic streams from patients, from ambulance, from police, delivery vehicles, transit vehicles and the like, to make sure there's no conflict at any one intersection. And we're particularly concerned about that quadrant of the campus and getting it right, and we're working with our partners to do just that.
Okay, I'd appreciate that, because that's the one thing I think when in an emergency, people, like, if they can turn in further to the west, it would be better at the very western side of the hospital. I don't know whether there's going to be a traffic signal light there or not.
Correct, there will be there, yes.
Okay,
yes.
so that may, but if they go in there, will they be then able to go east, or they still have to go?
Yes, they come in and they just, there's an interior, maybe I should bring that image back up then.
While John's doing that, one of the challenges you have is not to create an entrance that becomes a main entrance, and you invite too much of the regular traffic to go into that stream, and you end up with more conflict at the emergency department. You want to have it visible, a natural address where people understand where the emergency department is, and one of the ways you do that is by creating this visual cue as you approach the campus, so you get that reinforcement as to you've arrived at the right address.
So there'll be this will be a signaled intersection, and Third Line will be a signaled intersection. So for the general public coming to the emerge, they will come to the western road, turn in here, and access the drive-through for the emerge. So if you're coming this way, you do drive past and then come back up and in. This is really for ambulance entrance only.
I appreciate now. I understand it better now, because I was thinking that this may be a bit an accident waiting to happen with people doing a quick left in there. So.
Well, yeah, you could. That's the worry. If you begin to open it up for people heading west on Dundas and someone's heading east thinking, oh, I can turn in there. Now you've got somebody already stressed turning through 3 lanes of traffic. That's a high-risk intersection.
One other thing, I just noticed in the pictures, and I've had a lot of experience in hospitals in the last 4 or 5 years. Food trays and hospital beds. Will there be a synchronization to make sure they actually work, like before they're purchased?
So we're actually experimenting right now with a room service model. We're running it right now in the existing OTMH. So people will you'll come in, you'll have a menu in your room that will be everything from sort of pasta selections to sandwich selections to things you'd probably eat at home, whether it's yogurt or fruit and vegetable sticks.
The councillor is more concerned with, will the trays address the bed heights appropriately?
They roll under the bed enough so the person
Oh, I
actually
see what you
gets
mean.
the
Also,
food.
the side trays, the bedside trays.
Bed over tables, yeah.
Bed over tables, yeah.
He's trying to help you with the very fine details.
Yes.
Know how frustrating it is when the person can't get to their food, even if they're in the bed with the food tray, because
Yeah, I
all the
gotcha.
mechanisms under the bed and the wheels don't relate to it. Yeah.
Well, you'll know that we had a mock-up facility that we built of the inpatient room. We're just under construction right now of a high-fidelity mock-up with our partners, and we're going to fit up the room as a functional room, complete with all of the equipment, including bed over tables.
All of you will be welcome to come into the mock-up. Alan, you can lie in the bed, Councillor Elgar, and you can roll that tray over, and if it's not working, we want to know about it, because we still will have time to go back to the vendor and say, make this work.
That's right.
We'll call it the Elgar bedside table.
Appreciate
That's
that.
perfect.
Can you teach out what HIP? You mentioned HIP a few times. What is HIP?
Hospital Infrastructure Partners. It's the consortium that has been brought together with the constructors, the designers, the maintenance folks, and the financiers to build the hospital.
If HIP went bankrupt, who goes good for it? For the 30-year maintenance, I'm thinking.
Well, yes, but before that would ever happen, there would be all sorts of pressure from the financial markets that would be watching the partners as they're building the hospital to make sure that they would step in and replace that partner, whoever that might be, to ensure that the project proceeds on time and on
So
track.
the partners have equity in this. So until substantial completion, they have 100% risk. We have no money in this project until substantial completion. So if there's failures or bankruptcies during construction, their equity is highly at risk. Once substantial completion comes and we're in the building occupying it, we've made a big payment. Then we're into then there's about 30 years of payments, but there's equity at risk for the hospital infrastructure partners right through to the end of that 30-year maintenance period.
Thanks very much. Thanks a lot.
Thank you, Councillor. Councillor Khan?
Thank you very much. Great presentation. I'm interested about this teaching agreement. Notwithstanding this teaching agreement, this hospital is not going to be designated as a teaching hospital per se, is it?
No, it's not a formal teaching hospital like a university health network, but we're an affiliated hospital with the teaching program. So we will be doing much of what, in terms of the training and teaching of doctors, we'll be doing exactly as they would be taught and trained in those other centers, but research and the faculty and the labs and all the other parts of the training that are done in a teaching center wouldn't be part of this one. So this is a sort of second-year resident kind of students that will be shadowing a doctor and working with a doctor who's training them with people, but past those early lab stages.
With this teaching agreement and the fact that you said that you expect to have 1,000 more people employed as staff, will this affect or improve the staff-patient ratio and decrease wait times? Because I know we made significant gains already in that area.
Well, absolutely. Just the bigger capacity will also be helping with wait times. But absolutely, we'll be sized properly for Oakville once this hospital is opened up. So yeah, we should absolutely be seeing a decrease in wait times.
The last question, in terms of expansion, future expansion, decades down, on your site plan diagram, it showed the expansion would be taking place where you have a parking lot right now. Can you explain that, or what we plan on doing with that parking lot? Do you plan on making an addition to the garage parking lot?
We would likely add a second parking structure to give the capacity on the site. You'll notice that those T-shaped inpatient units, we would go south and create a third T and then build to the north for the expansion on the ambulatory pavilion. And then if we wanted to add research capacity or other kinds of capacity, for example, if we received approval for radiology, radiation oncology, we could build those kinds of buildings to the west and have that open acreage there to deal with that.
Thank you very much for those questions, Council. Thank you very much to everyone from Halton Healthcare for the presentation. And Council, I'd like to, on your behalf, I'd like to thank Eve Willis, who's here, for her leadership of the fundraising campaign for the capital campaign for the hospital on behalf of the Oakville Hospital Foundation, because they certainly have quite a challenge and quite a record of success to date. And we thank you for your leadership, and we congratulate you on your success. Thank you very much for being here. Now, if we could have a mover and seconder for a consideration and reading of bylaw 2011-114, I'm jumping ahead. We need a mover and seconder to receive the report. Councillor Khan, Councillor Adams, all in favor? Opposed? The report is received. Now I need a mover and seconder for the bylaws. Councillor Lapworth, Councillor Elgar, all in favor? Opposed? The bylaw is adopted. That finishes the agenda for this meeting of the special council meeting of the town of Oakville. And this meeting is adjourned.